Long before great emperors ruled vast kingdoms and legendary inventors changed the world, ancient China began its story along a mighty ribbon of water, the Yellow River. This vast river, winding through high plateaus and sweeping across broad plains, carried with it fine yellow soil that made the land incredibly fertile. To the early villagers who lived along its banks, the river was both a powerful friend and a fierce challenger, shaping their lives in ways both beautiful and unpredictable. During warm spring mornings, children watched the river shimmer like a golden dragon as sunlight danced across the waves. The muddy waters moved swiftly, carrying stories of distant mountains and desert winds. When floods came, the river overflowed with unstoppable force, turning quiet fields into swirling lakes. But when the waters receded, they left behind thick layers of rich earth perfect for growing crops. Families built their homes on raised ground to stay safe during flood seasons. Their villages were made of packed earth walls and straw roofs that blended naturally into the surrounding landscape. Inside each home, a warm hearth glowed softly, filling rooms with the comforting smell of cooked grains and roasted seeds. Every corner felt humble yet welcoming, shaped by hard-working hands. Children spent their days exploring fields, river banks, and hidden paths between low mud walls. They chased insects buzzing above wildflowers, collected smooth river stones, and built tiny models of houses using mud and sticks. Their games echoed across the valley, mixing with the gentle rustle of tall grass swaying in the breeze. Early farming communities depended on teamwork to survive. Families worked side by side, planting millet and wheat during the growing season. Adults tilled soil with wooden tools while children dropped seeds into neat rows, laughing as birds tried to steal the freshly planted grains. These simple chores helped teach responsibility, patience, and appreciation for the land. The changing seasons guided every part of life. In summer, farmers carefully tended their fields under bright sunlight, watching for signs of pests or storms. Autumn brought busy harvests, with whole families gathering ripe crops and storing them in clay jars inside cool, shaded rooms. Winter was quieter. People repaired tools, mended clothes, and shared stories to pass the long, chilly nights. Communities also learned to create pottery, a skill that became central to daily life. Clay dug from riverbanks was shaped into sturdy jars, deep bowls, and graceful cups, all carefully fired in simple outdoor kilns. Some pots were decorated with swirling patterns inspired by rivers, mountains, or the sun. These beautiful designs showed how closely the people connected their art to the natural world. Tools improved gradually as villages grew. Early stone blades helped farmers cut crops and shape wooden beams. Polished bone needles made sewing easier, while smooth grinding stones helped turn grains into flour for cooking. Many young children watched adults use these tools and longed for the day when they could learn to make their own. As life became more organized, communities began forming small leadership groups. These leaders helped settle arguments, plan farming tasks, and oversee rituals. Their wisdom came not from power, but from experience and trust built over many seasons. Everyone understood that cooperation was the heart of survival. Rituals and beliefs also played an important role. People honored the spirits of the river, land, and sky, believing these forces protected their homes and crops. Families offered bowls of millet, clay figurines, or fragrant herbs during simple ceremonies held near the water. Children joined in quietly, watching flickering firelight reflect on the river's surface like dancing stars. Villagers told many stories at night. Sitting around glowing fires, elders spoke of mythical beasts that roamed the mountains or brave heroes who tamed storms. Children listened with wide eyes, imagining ancient spirits guiding the river's path or shaping the winds that rustled through the fields. These tales blended imagination with wisdom, passing culture from one generation to the next. Trade slowly began to develop. Some villagers traveled to nearby settlements carrying baskets of grains, pottery, or woven goods. In return, they brought home shells, colorful stones, or special tools made by expert craftspeople. These exchanges helped ideas spread across the region, making each community stronger and more connected. As time went on, early Chinese villages grew into larger settlements surrounded by protective earthen walls. Craft specialists emerged: skilled potters, toolmakers, and builders who shaped the community with their expertise. Children admired these artisans, hoping one day to master such impressive talents themselves. Each new skill learned marked another step toward a more advanced and organized society. Music and celebration were part of village life too. People played flutes made of hollow bird bones or beat small hand drums to accompany dances during festivals. Children twirled ribbons, jumped to the rhythm of drums, and laughed as they tried to mimic the graceful steps of adults. These joyful gatherings strengthened bonds and filled the valley with warmth and unity. Animals played helpful roles in daily life. Dogs guarded homes and fields, pigs rooted through scraps behind houses, and chickens clucked busily as they searched for food. Children loved watching newborn animals wobble on tiny legs or listening to birds singing from the trees. This closeness to nature taught them respect and care for all living things. As villages expanded, people began learning new ways to build stronger homes and dig better irrigation channels. These improvements allowed communities to grow even during harsh seasons. Families shared knowledge freely, passing down secrets of farming, pottery, and building from one generation to the next. Together, they formed the foundation of a civilization that would one day shape the world. Although life along the Yellow River could be hard, its challenges built resilience and determination. People worked with nature rather than against it, learning to read the river's moods and trust in its gifts. Children grew up understanding that the land, river, and sky were not just parts of their environment, they were partners in life's journey. And so, the earliest chapter of ancient China began quietly along muddy banks where children played, farmers labored, and families dreamed of brighter futures. From these simple villages rose a culture rich in creativity, wisdom, and strength. The Yellow River didn't just shape the land, it shaped the hearts and minds of the people who called it home. As centuries passed, life along the Yellow River continued to evolve, shaped by the rhythm of nature and the creativity of its people. Villagers learned to observe the sky closely, watching clouds drift across the horizon and predicting weather by the color of dawn. A rosy sunrise promised gentle winds, while a dark, heavy sky warned of storms that could sweep across the valley. These early observations became essential knowledge, passed carefully from elders to children. Families soon realized that understanding the river meant understanding survival itself. They noticed patterns in the river's flow, the seasons when waters rose dangerously high, and the times when the river ran calm and shallow. By studying these cycles, communities learned to dig irrigation ditches that carried water to distant fields, helping their crops grow even during dry spells. These clever systems turned challenging land into thriving farmland. Inside each village, life buzzed with constant activity. Mothers ground grains using heavy stone rollers, shaping dough and baking flat breads over warm fires. Fathers carved new wooden tools, repaired fences, or crafted baskets from reeds gathered along the riverbanks. Children peeked over their shoulders, fascinated by every movement and eager to learn these valuable skills. As people became more skilled farmers, their diets grew more diverse. Millet remained a staple food, but villagers also gathered wild vegetables, berries, and nuts from the surrounding hills. Hunters brought back small game, while fishers cast nets into shallow waters for fish that grew plentiful after floods. Meals were simple but nourishing, shared around low tables while families exchanged stories about their day. Some villages built tall watchtowers of packed earth to look out over the valley. From these towers, guards scanned the land for signs of wild animals or distant travelers. The gentle smoke rising from hearth fires below painted a picture of peaceful living, but everyone knew that the river's gifts came with challenges that required constant watchfulness and unity. Craftsmanship blossomed as tools improved. Skilled artisans experimented with new shapes of pottery, tall, narrow jars for storing grains, wide bowls for mixing food, and thick-walled pots used for long cooking. Pottery became not just useful, but beautiful. Patterns of waves, spirals, or animal shapes told silent stories about daily life and beliefs. Each handmade piece carried the personality of its maker. Music grew more sophisticated too. Villagers discovered that different lengths of bone made different tones, inspiring the creation of multi-note flutes. Children listened in awe as melodies floated across the fields, sounding like whispers from mountains far away. Drums made from stretched animal hide added rhythm to gatherings, making every festival feel like a joyful celebration of life itself. Festivals marked the changing seasons. During spring planting festivals, villagers wore wreaths of fresh flowers and sang songs to bless the earth. In summer, they celebrated the river, offering herbs and carved figures to thank it for bringing fertile soil. Autumn harvest festivals were the grandest of all. Tables overflowed with grain cakes, roasted seeds, and jars of sweet fruits. These celebrations strengthened community bonds and filled the valley with laughter. Children played games inspired by nature. They built boats from bark and raced them in shallow streams, imagining daring voyages to faraway lands. Others carved tiny animal figures from clay, shaping horses, birds, and dragons. Their imaginations soared freely, guided by stories elders shared during quiet evenings under the starry sky. Storytelling continued to be a central part of village culture. Elders described ancient river spirits, giant turtles that held up the earth, and dragons whose breath created storms. Some stories taught lessons about working together, while others explained why seasons changed or why certain animals behaved in special ways. Children treasured these tales, repeating them to their friends and adding their own imaginative twists. Trade routes expanded steadily. Villagers traveled farther, meeting people from distant lands who brought new ideas, new tools, and different ways of life. Shell bracelets, shiny stones, rare spices, and beautifully crafted knives made from harder stone appeared in markets. Each item carried a story, a reminder that the world beyond the river was wide and full of surprises. As populations grew, some villages built stronger, more organized communities. Walls grew thicker, homes stood closer together, and central meeting halls became places where people discussed important matters. These early forms of government helped maintain order, manage farming schedules, and protect the community during harsh seasons. Leadership became a respected role, built on wisdom and fairness. New building techniques emerged as well. Builders learned to mix mud with straw to create stronger brick-like blocks. Homes became sturdier, larger, and more comfortable. Roofs sloped slightly to let rainwater flow off easily. Children often helped by passing tools, gathering straw, or smoothing mud walls with their hands, feeling proud to contribute. As daily life advanced, spiritual practices deepened. Villagers believed that ancestors watched over them, offering guidance and protection. Families lit small lamps at home altars, placing cups of water or bowls of grain to show respect. These rituals strengthened family bonds and reminded everyone of the long chain of generations connected through time. The natural world remained both a teacher and a companion. Children learned which plants healed cuts, which leaves kept insects away, and which herbs added flavor to meals. They observed animal tracks in the mud, learning to recognize deer, boar, or fox prints. Each discovery deepened their connection to the land and encouraged curiosity about how nature worked. Gradually, weaving techniques improved, leading to simple but sturdy clothing. Weavers used plant fibers to create soft threads, then wove them into cloth on early looms. Patterns often reflected nature waves, branches, or sunbursts symbolizing harmony with the world around them. Children watched in fascination as threads crossed over and under, forming beautiful shapes. As villages grew more sophisticated, early forms of writing began to take shape. People carved symbols onto bones or shells to record important events, rituals, or seasonal changes. These symbols were simple but meaningful, planting the seeds for one of the world's most enduring writing traditions. Children practiced drawing these marks in the dirt, dreaming of becoming wise scholars one day. Even with progress, life remained deeply tied to the land. Farmers rose early, guided by the rooster's call, and worked under the warm sun until evening shadows stretched long across the fields. They rested under trees, sharing dried fruits and sipping cool river water. Their days were filled with steady effort, but each sunset brought satisfaction and hope for the future. The Yellow River continued to be both a challenge and a blessing. Some years brought gentle rains and perfect harvests. Other years delivered powerful floods that swept away fields and forced families to rebuild. But through every hardship, the villagers' determination strengthened. Their unity allowed them to face challenges, rebuild quickly, and start anew with resilience. Children grew into skilled adults who carried forward traditions, knowledge, and values. They remembered how elders taught them to listen to the land and work together. They passed down stories of ancestors who tamed rivers, planted fields, and built communities from simple mud homes. Each generation added new achievements to the legacy of the Yellow River. And as centuries flowed like the river itself, these humble farming settlements became the roots of a great civilization. Ideas spread, villages joined into larger communities, and early dynasties began to form. The story of ancient China unfolded step by step, shaped by creativity, courage, and harmony with nature. From these early beginnings along the muddy banks, a remarkable culture emerged, one that would develop writing, philosophy, inventions, and ideas that continue to influence the world today. The Yellow River was more than a lifeline. It was the cradle of a civilization destined to shine for thousands of years.